cold seeped into my bones. A clammy embrace that had nothing to do with the pre-dawn chill and everything to do with the adhesive prison binding me. Duct tape. From neck to ankles. A meticulously crafted cocoon of humiliation. My breath hitched, not from fear, but from a surge of pure, unadulterated rage. This was not how Victor Kane operated. I was the one who pulled the strings, the architect of quiet terror, not the canvas for someone else's macabre art project. That was the moment I truly understood the depth of the game I was in. A game that had begun innocently enough, weeks ago, with a digital flicker of interest and a name, Monica, my life. A meticulously curated collection of triumphs and calculated risks. Had always been about control. Every tailored suit, every perfectly timed compliment, every name casually dropped. They were all brushstrokes in the masterpiece of Victor Kane. I had risen from the squalor of my childhood, the stench of that crumbling tenement, the gnawing hunger, the shame, to mingle with the elite, to handle art that screamed the wealth I craved. And yet, here I was, bound and helpless, a prisoner in my own bed. It was a stark, brutal reminder of the past I fought so desperately to escape, a mirror reflecting the powerlessness I felt when Peter... No. I pushed the thought down, twisting the tarnished silver ring on my right hand. A subconscious gesture that always accompanied moments of extreme stress or profound plotting. This ring, a cheap piece of metal Peter had worn, was my secret anchor. A lie I spun to others as a family heirloom. It was a constant dull ache, a reminder of what I couldn't save. Monica. Even her name now tasted like ash. We'd met online, a casual digital flirtation that I, ever the opportunist, had initially dismissed as a temporary diversion. I'd just extricated myself from a particularly tedious entanglement. Another mark who'd outlived her usefulness. Her pathetic dependency becoming an annoyance. Monica, with her quick wit and intriguing mystery, had seemed a refreshing change. She'd sent poems, I'd composed songs, not for her, of course, but for the performance. People, I'd learned, loved a sensitive soul, especially one who could quote obscure philosophers. It was a mask I wore well, disarming the unwary. You're the only one who truly understands me. I'd whispered to her in a late-night call, a line I'd perfected, one that isolated and bound. Pathetic, really, how easily they fell. The idea of a long-distance relationship was, frankly, beneath me. I preferred my conquests tangible, pliable. But Monica's insistence on visiting, on my turf, piqued my interest, a challenge. She'd sent the plane ticket, a picture of Indianapolis to Raleigh-Durham, arriving early one December morning. My feigned groan. Oh, great. I have to get up before 8 to come pick you up. Ugh, was met with her knowing laughter. We had the same sense of humor. She believed she had no idea the depths of my amusement, the quiet contempt I held for the predictable human response. The airport was a stage, not a terminal. I spotted her immediately, even through the throngs of tired travelers. Her dark hair, swept artfully to the side, framed a pale face, and those blood-red lips parted into a smile that, I admit, was captivating. Pictures rarely did justice, and hers had been merely adequate, but in person, she possessed a certain magnetic quality, a raw, untamed energy that resonated with something primal within me. I stepped out of my sleek sedan, its polished chrome glinting under the harsh fluorescent lights, and allowed her to launch herself into my arms. Her embrace was an assault, yes, but one I found surprisingly invigorating. Her lips on mine were intense. Every manufactured doubt I'd ever harbored about our digital connection evaporated, replaced by a nascent, unsettling curiosity. This woman was a force, and I, Victor Kane, recognized a kindred spirit in her ambition, even if I hadn't yet grasped its true nature. The thought of proposing, fleeting and absurd, was merely my ego's acknowledgement of a worthy opponent, a desire to possess something truly unique. I drove her back to my parents' house, a necessary evil to maintain the illusion of financial stability. My parents, a faded testament to my humble origins, were a constant reminder of the poverty I'd clawed my way out of. Monica, ever the pragmatist, had opted for the extra bedroom over a hotel, a decision I found both fiscally responsible and strategically advantageous. It allowed for proximity. For observation, she charmed them. Of course, my father, typically a grumbling shadow, actually offered a genuine smile. Even my notoriously quiet sister, a creature of habit and suspicion, found herself drawn into conversation. Monica was a master of mirroring, adapting her cadence, her interests, to suit her audience. I watched, fascinated, making mental notes for my own repertoire. My pocket notebook, a discreet leather-bound companion, remained tucked away, but its pages were already filling with observations. Our first day was a choreographed dance, the art museum, a hallowed hall of wealth and prestige, was less about the art and more about the performance. I moved through it like a king surveying his dominion. Monica, a luminous accessory on my arm, the cute cafe with its waffles, the casual kisses. Each interaction was a test, a probing of her boundaries. Her reactions, she was responsive, a good mark. That evening, after a flawless dinner performance, punctuated by Monica's effortless charm, we retired to my room. I was tired, yes, but more, I was sated. I'd won the day. Then came the awakening. 3 o'clock in the morning, my body, a finely tuned machine, often rebelled against sleep, but this was different. A touch, light, yet insistent, between my shoulder blades. My eyes snapped open. "What?" I managed, my voice rough with sleep and a flicker of irritation. I turned. She stood there, a silent sentinel by my bed. Monica. Her eyes, usually warm, held a strange, predatory gleam. "What are you doing?" I hissed, the words laced with a controlled anger. "You should be in bed." Her voice, when it came, was a melodic whisper, a sing-song quality that grated on my nerves. "I wanted to know how you look when you sleep. Victor, you look so pretty when you sleep." My mind, usually a fortress of logic, faltered. We'd engaged in playful, creepy banter, but this felt different, a violation of the carefully constructed boundaries I enforced. "You're uneasy," she observed, her lips curving into a subtle, knowing smile, and then she climbed into bed beside me. "What are you?" I began, but she silenced me with a soft shh, her hand caressing my cheek. Her lips met mine, and this time, the kiss was not merely intense, it was something else entirely. A warmth, not of passion, but of consumption. I felt it, a chill, a subtle draining sensation that started deep within my chest and flowed outward, through my mouth, into her, my carefully contained unease, the flicker of apprehension. It simply vanished. It was unsettling, yet strangely liberating. She pulled back, her eyes fixed on my bewildered gaze. "I'm sorry," she whispered, the strange lilt gone, replaced by a tone of genuine regret. "I should have told you long ago. I'd come feed on fear." I lay there, processing. Fear, a resource, an energy. My mind, ever the strategist, began to whir. "I eat food and drink like regular people do," she continued, her voice gaining a strange, almost ecstatic quality. "But I can also consume fear from other people. And let me tell you, nothing tastes as good as fear." That half smile, The one that had captivated me earlier was now a predatory smirk. I was trying to scare you. I knew it'd get you. I just wanted to see how you tasted. Do I taste good? The question was out before I could censor it. My ego, ever present, demanded validation, even in the face of the bizarre. You're the best fear I've ever had, she replied, and a shiver, not of dread but of perverse satisfaction, traced its way down my spine. The idea of being a unique, potent source appealed to my narcissism. Staring at me in my sleep was an invasion, yes, but feeding off my fear, that was a power dynamic I could work with, perhaps even exploit. I wish you wouldn't try to scare me in the middle of the night, I whispered, a feigned annoyance in my voice. Unlike you, I actually like to sleep. She laughed quietly, a low, throaty sound. I'll find other ways to feed, don't worry. You can still have your beauty sleep. Not that you need it. She was a sap, indeed. We kissed again, a more conventional kiss this time, before she slipped out of my bed and back to her temporary quarters. The next day, my mind, a crucible of schemes, began to turn Monica's peculiar ability to my advantage. We went to a horror film, a theatrical exercise in engineered fright. Every jump scare, every sudden shock would cause a jolt of adrenaline, a flicker of that raw, potent fear, and each time, Monica would grab me, her lips pressing to mine, and I would feel the sensation, the subtle draining, the subsequent calm. It was efficient, a new kind of high. It was like those early days in the art world, when I first learned to read the room, to manipulate expectations, to sense the tremor of greed or envy in a collector's eyes before planting the seed of doubt. It was a different kind of power, but power nonetheless. A walk through the neighborhood, a seemingly innocuous stroll, provided another opportunity. An off-leash dog, my childhood, a series of relentless assaults on my sense of safety, had left me with a profound, irrational fear of dogs. A black Labrador, all teeth and chaotic energy, had jumped me when I was 3, sending me sprawling, helpless. The memory was a visceral knot in my stomach. This dog, thankfully, made no move, but I froze, the primal fear seizing me. Monica, ever observant, knew. She took my face in her hands, her eyes locking onto mine, and kissed me. The fear, the unease, the memory of that helpless child, it all drained away. I walked past the dog, feeling nothing. I love you, I said. The words a strategic acknowledgement of her unique utility, a confirmation of her power, which was now, by extension, my power. I know you do. She smirked, her eyes gleaming. And I love you. Her smirk was a challenge, a sign of her own burgeoning narcissism. I found it disturbingly attractive that night, after dinner and another carefully selected horror film. We waited until my parents were asleep. In my bed, the air thick with unspoken desires and the lingering scent of my cedar and amber cologne. She asked, "What else scares you?" My mind sifted through the catalog of my vulnerabilities, the ones I kept hidden even from myself. Heights, falling, in particular. The memory of Peter, so small and frail, slipping away from me. The helplessness, the utter lack of control. It was a form of falling, a descent into an abyss of guilt. Oh, falling. Her voice was soft, intrigued, with the wind whipping against your face as you flail for some sort of control. Unable to do anything as the ground rushes up to meet you, she whispered, painting a terrifyingly vivid picture. This was a writer's talent, to craft such a compelling narrative of dread. Every word was a shiver, a cold trickle of terror, then the kiss, the fear, intense and overwhelming, drained away. "Don't do that," I chided, a playful reprimand. but a warning nonetheless. What I thought you liked being scared. She smirked, licking her lips. And she wasn't wrong. She was good at this. Too good. Just go easy on me, won't you? I managed. A sheepish smile. Sorry. I was just really hungry. The word hungry echoed in my mind. A predator's hunger, it should have been a sign. A flashing red light. But my fascination, my desire to understand and control this new dynamic, overrode any alarm bells. I closed my eyes, holding her close, drifting off, lulled by a strange sense of equilibrium. The third day, her hunger became relentless. The subtle probes turned into overt assaults. I'd enter the bathroom and she'd jump out, a sudden, jarring fright, followed by the familiar kiss, the draining calm. Each time, the need for more seemed to grow, her touch more insistent, her eyes brighter. It was like watching a rival collector, one I'd encountered after the debacle of the false patron, whose greed became a gaping maw, consuming everything in its path. I recognized the pattern, the insatiable appetite, that afternoon. She pressed for horror movies, the most disgusting, disturbing ones she could find. The Human Centipede too. I swallowed my revulsion, allowing the manufactured terror to build, knowing the inevitable release. Half the screen time was spent in those strange, fear-draining kisses. A part of me, the calculating Victor, was intrigued by the efficiency of it all. Another part, the ghost of the boy who couldn't save Peter, felt a growing, unsettling unease after another family dinner, where Monica was, as always, charming to a fault. My parents and sister left for a movie. "Don't get into trouble," my mother had said, a laugh in her voice. They had no idea the kind of trouble I was already in. Alone. We went to my room, and after the predictable intimacy in her arms, I drifted off to sleep, still naked. The awakening was jarring. My muscles screamed, but I couldn't move. My eyes snapped open, scanning my body, duct tape, from neck to ankles. A meticulously wrapped mummy. A cold dread, far more potent than any fear she had induced, began to bloom in my chest. This was not a game. This was a statement. I struggled, testing the bonds. They were expertly applied, each layer tight, unforgiving. Then I remembered, after dinner, Monica had asked my father for duct tape. A little art project, she'd said, and I, Victor Kane, the connoisseur of art, was the canvas. I turned my head, the movement limited, painful. She stood there, in the same spot she'd occupied on that first night. Her smile was wide, triumphant. Mine, I knew, was a grimace of pure, unadulterated fury, like my project, she asked. Her voice a purr. "I made it just for you," I tried to scream, to unleash the torrent of rage building within me, but she leaned down, her lips capturing mine before I could make a sound. The terror, raw and primal, unlike anything I had ever truly felt, flowed out of me. Into her. She moaned, a sound of pure ecstasy, as if gorging herself on the finest vintage. It was a violation so profound. It stripped away my carefully constructed facade. What the hell I managed. My voice a ragged whisper. After she pulled away, the fear was draining, but the cold, calculating anger remained. "You taste so good," she replied, her eyes glazed with a strange hunger. "I can't get enough, so I'm practicing for tomorrow night. If you say no, if I..." The implications hit me with the force of a physical blow, a permanent source, a slave, the shame of my childhood, the hunger, the powerlessness, it all rushed back, amplified. This was Peter's fate, in a different form, to be consumed. "No one I've been with before you has been so satisfying," she continued, her voice soft, almost tender. "No one tastes this good, so I've decided to run away with you." Live somewhere far away from everyone, where I can consume your fear all I want." She kissed me again, and the rising tide of terror, the surge of panic at the thought of such an existence, receded. She was a potent drug, a terrifying, addictive force. "And now we know I can restrain you without waking you up." She crawled into bed beside me, her body pressing against my tightly bound form. "Now, sleep, my most wonderful boy. And tomorrow, when I ask you to leave with me, I hope you'll say yes." She kissed me one last time, a lingering, possessive kiss. And despite my terror, despite the rage, my eyelids drooped. The exhaustion, the emotional drain of the past days, coupled with the strange, calming effect of her kiss, was too much to fight. It was our last night together, or so I desperately hoped. I woke, unbound, the sticky residue of the tape a phantom skin on my body. A grotesque memory, it was no dream. I had spent the day avoiding her, hiding in the bathroom, feigning sleep, anything to escape her predatory gaze. At dinner, I remained silent, allowing her to charm my family, to weave her web of deceit. My silence was a shield, a denial of her power before I could escape upstairs. Monica stopped me. "Hey, before I forget, I was thinking, do you want to come with me when I leave?" My mind raced, cataloging the options. To say yes was to condemn myself to an eternity as her food, a living battery. To say no was to risk. What more duct tape, something worse? The memory of Peter, that fragile boy, haunted me. I couldn't save him. But I would not be consumed. I would not be a victim. That lesson, forged in the crucible of poverty and loss, was etched into my very soul. "I'll think about it," I said quickly, my voice betraying nothing, a practiced neutrality. Then I bolted up the stairs into my room, locking the door with a decisive click. I've been here for 5 hours, sitting on my bed, wide awake. The lock is a flimsy barrier, easily picked by someone with her singular focus. I cannot fall asleep. I cannot become her slave, her vampire's thrall. The thought of being eternally dependent, a mere source of sustenance, ignited a cold, burning fury within me. I, Victor Kane, was the predator, the manipulator, the one who took, never the one who gave. And yet, a deeper, more insidious conflict gnawed at me. I loved her in my own twisted way. I loved the sensation she provided, the draining of fear that left me feeling clean. And I would do almost anything for her, for the perverse thrill of it, for the challenge. She was a worthy opponent, a truly unique mark. But the thought of being utterly powerless, of losing control, of becoming the embodiment of the very weakness I despised, was unbearable. I was tired, yes, but not of fighting. I was tired of the internal battle, the war between the man I was and the boy I could never escape. The silver ring, Peter's ring, dug into my finger as I twisted it, a silent, damning reminder of my past and the future I refused to accept.